Hey guys, Shawn here from the Ollin group of coaches, coming at you with the weekly, hopefully weekly anyway. I try to get on here most weeks now. I don't know what to call it, but kind of insights of the week, questions for the week, things you can do. I don't have a name. Anyway, I was thinking about it the last couple of days. I'd like to kind of reflect on what's been going on each time I get on here, and this is a little bit more of a personal one, more of a struggle that I'm going to share with you. There's a really good reason for it. I actually posted a poster earlier that well, I'm just going to adjust the screen here, that talks about this in a little bit of detail. I shared some of the same information here in the on the side here with this video. By the way, if you're getting on here live or if you're watching after the fact, if you're watching on YouTube, I'd love to hear from you. Just a wave, say hello, well, whatever the case is. I'd love to hear from you. If you have a question, please feel free to ask. Anyway, very simply, and this is a really, really hard piece to even admit, but some people already know, is my wife and I are separated. We're still living in the same house, trying to make things work. There is, there's, I'm gonna say there's possibility. There always is. But it's been probably the hardest year for me to personally go through. And, it's the irony, of course, is that what I do for a living, I help people not only on their business and income goals, but on things like overcoming depression, anxiety, and saving or improving their relationships. And so here I am, struggling to save my own marriage. And the long and short of it is that over the years that I've been coaching and for over the last 20 years that I've been married, I've struggled with exactly the same things that I help people transform in their own lives, where I help people break through. So you could say, and I hate saying this, but you could say I'm one of those unhealed healers in many respects. So I've struggled with depression, I've struggled with anxiety, I've struggled with financial ups and downs, and I've struggled in my relationship. I've struggled to show up and really be supportive and be strong, to be the man that I was called to be, and the man that my wife needed me to be. So this has actually been, I guess you could say a huge blessing over last year rather, in that it's forced me to ask some very serious questions to actually say, am I willing to look and ask and create the breakthrough I need the way I would for one of my clients. So this is very intimate details that I'm sharing with you guys. I'm not going to go much further than just to kind of say this is the stuff that I've been working on, and this is the reason all these things, these areas that I didn't work on myself, is what led to where things are right now with my wife and I. Anyway, reason I bring this up, one, to be transparent. I'm not perfect. I've had a lot of success. I've also had a lot of challenges. Everything that I help people with, I've gone through it or am going through it. It's just that I've been given some tools, some strategies, and a lot of experience with it to make a difference for other people. And I'm having to do the same thing for myself. So anyway, my wife and I had a bit of an argument last night. I can't say we argue a lot, at this point, but we did follow into it. Why? Because I fell into an old pattern. And essentially, without going into detail, the pattern really was around my attachment, my demand of her, of where I'd like the relation, where I'd like to save the marriage, where I'd like the relationship to be, just all these demands is a good way to put it, and it causes argument. Anyway, why? Because that attachment, one way to look at attachment, and I'll get into where this applies for all of us. Attachment is a way of being needy, of being very demanding, of having this unrealistic expectation. And I was putting all this pressure on my wife. And it's a way of, in a relationship anyway, it's a way of backing people into a corner. It's a way of pushing them away from you, actually, getting the opposite of what you want. So this is what happened. And it caused me to go into this a deep exploration, and I felt horrible, of course, going into this old pattern and putting it back into a wall like that. And I had to get really, really honest with myself. I had to really look at it. I think if we're really, truly committed to not only achieving our goals, but to really finding that fulfillment in life, that find out what we're actually not only capable of, but what we're really called to in life. It requires us to be brutally honest with ourselves. And I always say that to people. I say it to clients, and to do the work, those two things. But I've been personally guilty of doing that to a point and then getting too comfortable. And that comfort, where I get comfortable, that's where I fall into the old patterns, because you know, until they're really truly gone, they're going to rear their ugly head to survive. They're going to fight for survival. So what I'm really looking at these past few days, and this is nothing new for me, but to really start to look at a deeper level, and especially last night, is this idea of detachment. It comes from Buddhist philosophy. And it basically refers to the idea that we should really give up our attachment to things, to outcomes, to people. Now, it doesn't mean we give up on what we want. It doesn't mean we give up on our goals. It doesn't mean we give up on our intention. It means we give up our demand that things should be the way we think they should be. It means we give up on our neediness. Now, let me come back to that thought. For me personally, and I know for a lot of people, we confuse what's necessary for us and leads us to pursue our goals in a way that it doesn't really satisfy us. But when we adopt, and I'm sure you've experienced this, I know I have, when we adopt a more flexible attitude, even though it seems counterintuitive sometimes, because we get really caught up, really stressed on making this happen, making that happen, and on and on and on. When we adopt a more flexible attitude, not just here, but in our body, where we really feel it, things get easier. It's easier to get what we want. And it's because of that detachment. That detachment is built on trust. Trust in our own potential, in our own abilities, and in life. In God, if you will, or the universe, or just life, whatever. In the Tao, whatever you want to call it. Whereas attachment is based on fear of loss, based on insecurity. When we feel insecure, we cling. That's where the attachment comes in. We cling, we get needy to relationships, like I did, to people, or to outcomes. And the thing is, the more attachment we develop, the worse it gets. The more the fear grows, especially that fear over whatever loss it is. And the fear affects our emotional stability. I went into this whole process myself. And it also creates or reinforces these dysfunctional behavioral patterns. So we're trying to get what we want, but we're engaging the behaviors that actually keep us from having it. Does this make sense, you guys? Give a thumbs up if you're listening, if you're live, if you're watching recording. I'd like to hear from you. So attachment is another word for neediness or clinginess. Attachment is another word for, or attachment leads to rather, stress, worry, anxiety. Has anybody ever experienced stress, worry, or anxiety in their lives? The simplest reason for it is that we're too attached to having a certain outcome. We have a demand that this outcome has to happen. Now, maybe we still, like I said, we still pursue that. We still intend for that. But it's our attachment to it. This has to happen. Oh my God, this has to happen. That actually keeps us from it. So detachment, the law of detachment, involves not depending on what we have or on the person or on the outcome to give us what we need, to give us that emotional certainty. It's important to understand that detachment doesn't mean not to love. It doesn't mean not to strive, not to take massive determined action. What it means is to be autonomous. Or as Adi Ashanti would say, to stand in our own two shoes. So it means to, as best we can, free ourselves from the fear. Or to feel the fear and do it anyway. To feel that fear of loss. To feel it in our body so it can transform. And so we can start to enjoy what we actually have in the moment. So we can start to enjoy, oh, here we go. Sorry, apparently some comments are coming up, but they're not showing for some reason. I'm going to have to kind of reply to people afterwards. So thanks, Eric, for kind of saying that. I see that there's comments, but I can't see them for some reason. Anyway, so it's detachment that if we really want to lead a successful life, if we want to overcome our struggles, our patterns, our behaviors, our emotional patterns, if we want to get the results that we say we want, we need to learn how to be detached. The law of detachment. So it's so critical, you guys, and it is my lesson. It's about living fully right now, not waiting for a certain outcome. It's about living fully, experiencing fully. And so my question to you is, I've got a couple of questions actually to wrap this up. And like I said, I'll come back and re-comment, so please feel free to comment. I'm not sure why I can't see them. But I appreciate you being on here, Eric. I'm really glad to see you, actually. It's been a while. So first question. I've got 3 or 4 that I wrote down here that I thought of in preparation for this video. First question is, if you were to know, what are you attached to? What outcome or relationship are you attached to in your life or person? If you were to know what outcome, where's your attachment? We all have some, by the way. Unless you're someone like Adi Ashanti or Eckhart Tolle or the Buddha or Jesus, we all have some sort of attachment in our lives. How do we know? It's whenever worry, stress, anxiety, fear, whenever these things show up, it's there, right? That's attachment. Okay, so where does that show up for you? And my second question to you, and again, you feel free to reply in the comments if you like. If you're watching on live, if you're watching the replay, if you're watching on YouTube, or you can message me, whatever. So second question, what would happen, and I want you, whenever I ask a question, answer it as deeply as you can. Really, not just the surface answer like we're used to, but go really deep in that. Really ask yourself, what would happen if you were to let go of your attachment to that particular outcome or that particular person? What would actually happen? What would the result be? How would you feel? What would that do for you? What would happen if you were to trust? So that's all part of the same question. What would happen if you were to let go of that attachment? Next question. What if things work out exactly as you want them to? What would that do for you? How would you feel then? Or what if they don't work out? What if some of your fears are valid or you create it because of your attachment? So what if it doesn't work out? What's the opportunity for you in that situation or that relationship? What's the opportunity or the gift? So these are the questions I would leave you with, you guys. Now again, if you want, if you're able to identify some of those answers, some of your attachments and where you could benefit from breaking through them, and if you want some help, I'd be happy to help. Just message me. We can sit down, we can talk on the phone, we can talk over Skype or FaceTime, and I'd be happy to help you. So with that, you guys, this is Shawn K. Carpenter from the Ollin group. Really glad to have you watching this, have you on here, Eric, anybody else watching this or commenting after the fact, whatever. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your feedback in terms of the content, anything. Questions, whatever, challenges. If you want to challenge me, if you don't agree with something, that's cool too. Anyway, I'd love to hear from you. So with that, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will look forward to seeing you again soon. Cheers. Bye.